Hey there, good morning. Happy August 1st. It's 7:30. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett Thursday morning. Good to be with you. I'm Bridgett Ellison, and today we have some great information lined up for you. We're going to go behind the scenes of those Kroger grocery deliveries. We're going to talk to a licensed counselor about managing the stress when it comes to back to school, because we know that that is upon us. We're just days away now. We have a countdown ticker going on that. And we're also monitoring our weather because Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is still watching the tropics, and some more information that's coming out now that's giving us a better picture on what's happening with that. So we want to check in with her first. We're going to head over to the Pinpoint Weather Center. Good morning. Are you getting ready for back to school?
Yeah, I've been ready to go back to school for about a month. I know. Parents are thinking it, they're just not saying it.
It's a quiet truth.
It really is. But no, we're ready. We've got our backpacks, we've got our new water bottles, we've got our
Yes.
pencil cases. But I'm a sucker for back to school shopping, so
I know.
you don't have to tell
I
me
know.
twice to go get some new markers.
Right. We still got to get the backpacks. I got the supplies. But yeah.
Are you feeling maybe a theme? Is there a theme going on? I know
Well,
they're starting to get a little older.
I want to let them sort of go pick something out, just kind of give a budget, and then
Yes.
so let them pick something out, and then
Yeah.
we just make sure we write their names on there with a Sharpie.
I
Those
know.
water
I
bottles
know.
too, because those aren't
The
cheap.
water bottles, yeah. It's just, you know what? Just know that you're gonna buy it. You're gonna use it they're gonna use it for about a month, and then you'll be going back to the old ones because they lost the
Can't
new
find
ones.
it.
So that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not only are we going back to school, but the tropics. We're going back to
Yeah.
the tropics. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the tropical wave. It's a big question. I know a lot of family in South Florida right now calling me going, so what's up with this system?
Oh
That's
boy.
my favorite. That's
Time for a
my
Zoom
phone.
call, Candace.
Yeah, I know. I should do a big family Zoom call, right? But let's talk about the tropics. As of right now, we had a couple of new updates. So let's kind of show you what the difference is compared to when we were chatting on Breakfast with Bridgett yesterday. The tropical wave 1 looks a lot more defined on our satellite imagery. We have a lot more convection. We're seeing more cloud tops than Saharan dust. So all signs that this is slowly starting to get its act together. We don't have a main center of circulation yet. If we had to estimate it, the National Hurricane Center is pinpointing it in and around Puerto Rico, and still looking at a potential development tropically by the time it moves into kind of that orange zone there. That's why it's highlighted there. So rain chances for us here in Central Florida will be increasing, but also increasing is the potential for development up to about a 10% within the next 2 days. But within the next 7 days, they're upping those chances up to about a 60%. This is a quick disclaimer, Bridgett. This is not a forecast cone. There is no forecast cone out there. The National Hurricane Center has not labeled this as an invest yet. They have not labeled this as a depression or a storm or anything else. But because we are very close to potential impacts here to Central Florida, I'm kind of giving this a yellowy green highlight here for more of that surge potential, the moisture surge that we can be expecting. So this is our tropical outlook within the next 5 days. It still has a lot of land interaction it's dealing with for the next 48 hours. It's close to Puerto Rico. It's going to be close to Hispaniola, Dominican Republic, Haiti, the Bahamas. All of that's going to play a big role in how this system starts forming. So as it approaches Central Florida, it's not going to have tons of time to develop into a named storm. So we're talking about, for us here in Central Florida, becoming more of a rainmaker, not a wind maker. So this is certainly going to be more of a rain event. And I'm going to explain why. Because we're looking at a jet stream, kind of our upper level winds, turning the system almost stationary over the next couple of days. So once it approaches Florida or the far eastern Gulf of Mexico, by Sunday, by Monday, we're talking about days of off and on tropical downpours possible with this system. So although this is not one of those we're, talking about evacuations and packing up and tropical storm watches and warnings in this forecast, it's still something that is going to be impacting us here in Central Florida. So these are your tropical takeaways. Models are trending the system further west. Yesterday, Bridgett, we had the European model, and that was still happily staying out into the Atlantic. but that overnight has shifted very farther west over Central Florida, over the state, or even into the Gulf of Mexico. So with that being said, we're getting a better consensus on these model runs. They still differ considerably on intensity and exact track, but certainly looking like an impact to Central Florida is more likely. Now the next question is timing. Is this something to be concerned about? Is this something to cancel plans if you're planning on traveling out of Florida or you're traveling down to South Florida? I don't think you should be canceling plans. You might have to tweak your plans a little bit if you don't want to be driving through the rain, or if you have outdoor weekend plans, that might need to be altered, as our timing it looks to be more of a Sunday, maybe late Sunday, but Monday and into Tuesday as well. So of course, this is going to be something we're going to be talking about for days to come at nausea. So just as of now, concern doesn't need to be high. You should be monitoring it, but it certainly will have more of a better chance of impacting our forecast rain-wise. In the meantime, today, it's also a big story, is the heat. Temperatures are going to be in the mid-90s today across our inland zones, but because we're starting to feel some of that tropical moisture surging in from that tropical wave, we're going to start feeling that heat even further. So although temperatures are still hot, just like they were yesterday, that added humidity is going to make it feel a little hotter. It's going to be harder for our bodies to cool down and regulate. So our feels like temperatures are going to be exceeding 108. And once we hit that, that's when it triggers those heat advisories. So heat advisories are issued for all of Central Florida from 11 to 6. Rain chances are also in the mix when you have all that available moisture. Our chances of rain, 30% along the coast, about a 50 to 60% the further inland you go. And you can see here, clouds and rain forecast developing those scattered storms by about 1, 2 o'clock. More of that collision of those slow-moving storms will be possible between about 3 and about 6 o'clock. And then as the sun goes down, so do our rain chances. Again, a very typical day again for your Friday summer-like storms. Then we're going to have to start tweaking these rain chances a little bit. I'm not surging the rain up to 100% at all. We still got to iron out those details. But as of now, look to see an increasing chance for rain as we get closer into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So that's how we're kind of dicing and slicing this forecast.
Okay.
It's not a huge concern, but it is August 1st. So
Yes.
I'm going to leave that there with you.
And we'll prepare
It's certainly something.
Preparing for that extra rain. All right. Thank you, Candace.
You're welcome.
All right. We want to get over to Trooper Steve, who is back from many travels abroad, and traveling our roadways once again in Results One. Are you headed out today?
I tell you, it is, so this is what I do, travel a lot. I do a lot of international travel. And the biggest thing that always gets me is how they drive in other countries. And I tell you, it is Bridgett, it is extremely stressful. But they know what they're doing, and there's like a common courtesy to the mayhem. Here, we just have mayhem. No common courtesy. That's why you have Trooper Steve employed here at News 6, because it's insane. Scooters just go flying up to the front. Motorcycles just do what they want. Stop signs are suggestions, but they just do it, and they make it work.
Maybe they don't have a point system for the license. That's probably.
Yeah, the thing is, traffic cops are non-existent in these other places. Look at Ezzy Castro walking behind me this morning. It's been great. I am back. I'm getting my mind back into the flow of things. A little update with Trooper Steve on patrol. These will now be featured at 10 a.m. is kind of our slot time for the live segments. People could still catch it before a recorded segment from previous stuff earlier in the morning. But from now on, moving forward, Trooper Steve on patrol, we will make an attempt to make sure it's 99% of the time right around 10 o'clock in the morning. So today, the live one, the raw, fresh, uncut one will happen at 10 a.m. daily from now on. And today, we're kind of leaving it up in the air because I'm waiting possibly to get someone to confirm if they're going to be able to do something with us today. If not, we'll still have a segment today live at 10 o'clock. So no matter what,
you
it's still
ride
gonna
at 10. All right.
right at 10. So roadways are looking good this morning. Bridget, earlier we cleared up a crash on I-4 in the downtown area. We're seeing some nasty delays out here right around Cayley, nice and clear. Just those routine delays as you make your way towards the downtown area. Increase that following distance for me so we don't have any secondary crashes or any major slowdowns. Check out these drive times. They're actually doing pretty good this morning. 21 minutes from 417 in Sanford to City Center, and then 23 minutes coming in from Osceola Parkway to State Road 50. The rest of us are looking nice. Earlier crash down in that area has been cleared out, but this one is hanging out on the shoulder of International Drive south at 535. And if you look just south of there, you could see a northbound delay causing right there around 535. So just be careful. And breaking news, we can go full and end this. We will have a stream today. Just got a text from our MCC Tara, and I'll be heading to Claremont 10 a.m. today to show you guys how they are using drones within their department, and kind of advancement on technology, when they use them, when they don't use them, how they're trained. And that's going to happen on Trooper Steve on patrol at 10 o'clock. So now I'm excited. I got a topic to give to you
Now,
guys.
who's using the drones now?
Claremont Police Department.
Okay, cool.
And we were supposed to have Chief Broadway in the truck with me today to talk a little bit about him. But hey, when you're a chief or a sheriff, your schedule's unpredictable. So he's going to be rescheduled for next week. So great gentleman,
Very cool.
really game changer for the city of Claremont. So I'm excited for both these streams today. So there we go, 10 a.m.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Trooper Steve.
All right, talk to you later.
See you soon. So we have a follow-up this morning about the explosion at the laundromat in Ocala. We're hearing more from people who witnessed this and know people who are recovering after that blast. And here's our Mark Lehman with the latest.
Surveillance video from across the street shows the powerful blast at the classic laundromat in Ocala. Minutes later, Tootie Langhorn started recording the aftermath.
She went to put her clothes in the dryer, and when she hit the button, it just said, that's when the explosion happened.
Langhorn's friend, India Delgado, along with her mother and boyfriend, were inside.
She fell. Her daughter's boyfriend tried to go back in there to get her, and he ended up breaking his leg and getting all types of burns.
Fire officials say the laundromat's dryers were powered by natural gas, but won't confirm the explosion was caused by a leak until their investigation is finished.
Unfortunately, we found out that the office has been destroyed.
After the blast, Advantage Insurance Advisors, along with other businesses in the strip mall, were forced to close their doors, and it's unclear when they'll be able to recover.
We're a local health insurance agency. We help thousands of people a year when it comes to navigating their health insurance options if they're on Medicare. So this community depends on us a lot.
Okay, so we'll continue following up with everything there in Ocala and the recovery efforts. But now to a health alert that is expanding with the Boar's Head deli meat. So if you are a fan of the deli, if you like to get those subs or what have you, charcuterie boards, News 6's Ezzy Castro has more on how that recall is expanding right now.
Boar's Head says it has expanded its recall to include all items produced at one particular facility in Virginia, according to its website. It comes as the USDA announced a recall, starting with Boar's Head liverwurst and other deli meats because the products may be contaminated with listeria.
The symptoms of listeria are similar to food poisoning. Persons most at risk are older persons, people who are frail, the immune compromised, and persons who are pregnant, because this infection can sometimes precipitate a miscarriage or get into the baby.
The new recall includes 71 products made between May 10 and July 29 under the Boar's Head and Old Country brand names. So far, nearly 36 people in 13 states have gotten sick and 2 people have died. On Monday, Boar's Head released a statement to customers saying, quote, "No words can fully express our sympathies and the sincere and deep hurt we feel for the families that have suffered losses and others who endured illness."
And so we have all of that on clickorlando.com as well, so you can share it and read up some more on what's happening with the recall so you can stay informed. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to licensed counselor Shantala Boss about dealing with the stress and anxiety around back to school time. Welcome back. We're talking about back to school. You know, we're counting down 11 days to go before most kids go back to school here across Central Florida. And with me this morning, licensed mental health counselor Shantala Boss from Boss Wellness. It's good to have you with us again, Shantala. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Bridget.
You too. You know, we had the ticker on this morning as we talked about back to school and new school campuses opening up and just the excitement around that. Yesterday we talked about some school supply giveaways, and so parents getting ready, staff getting ready, and the students getting ready for back to school, whether they like it or not. And there are lots of big feelings around this time of year.
You're right. There are so many big feelings. A lot of them are really good. A lot of kids are really ready to get back to school. I know Candace said she was ready for the kids to get back to school, but I think they're ready too. They can get pretty bored over the summer. But with change comes anxiety, sometimes fear of the unknown. A lot of kids are moving into a different grade or even from elementary to middle or middle to high. So with this comes a lot of uncertainty, even if they're just changing a grade within their school. So it's really important we start having those conversations now about what kind of things they're expecting, what kind of things they're concerned about, what kind of things they're looking forward to. And like you were saying earlier, coming up with more of a routine, starting to get them back into the groove even before they set foot in the door to set them up for success is so important during this time of year.
Yes, and when you talk about setting up for success, there are some things that we really have to start working on now with the kids to give them the best foot forward, at least physically and mentally.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of kids are mostly nervous a lot of times about peers, who they're going to see, if their friends are going to be in their classes, or maybe that quote unquote bully that they had last year. How are they going to handle that? And they just want reassurance and to talk about it, come up with plans of how to set boundaries in certain situations. As they're getting older, they have a lot of anxiety about workload or if they're going to be able to handle a certain teacher, what their expectations are. So we don't have all the answers going into school. I know we have Meet the Teacher, but just kind of normalizing those things, talking to them about it. Really, kids just want to know that they're going to be okay. And even like we were saying earlier, if the parents are calm and collected and even excited, the kids will follow suit. The first day they might have a little jitters, but they're going to be excited to come back and really talk about it.
Yeah. And so we talked about that getting back into the routine. So ideally, how do we get them going to bed on time and getting up on time to sort of ease that transition getting into that first week? Because you want to start now, right?
Well, it's good to start now, even if it's starting going to bed maybe 30 minutes early. We have a couple weeks, but really the week before, really trying to get into that routine of the regular bedtime. There's going to be a little wiggle room. They're going to say, I can't fall asleep right away, and that's okay. But starting that downtime, turning down the lights, laying in bed, maybe reading a book, getting off the screens. And it doesn't have to be hard and fast that they fall asleep immediately, but they start getting into that routine of the self-care. Maybe they were eating a lot of junk food before bed and this was keeping them up late. So there might be some changes in diet and schedule. The summers are fun, but it also can be a little all over the place. So just figuring out what those routines are and expectations. We're talking about back to school shopping, getting them organized, looking at their schedule, what they're probably going to be taking. Hopefully a lot of kids are getting their schedule here in the next week or so. So it's just important that we start that now so that once they're in the routine of things, they have one less thing to worry about with all the change and uncertainty that comes with the first day of school.
And there's just some anxiety that is normal. There's a certain amount of anxiety that everyone experiences with different things. And so that's different than when we talk about maybe chronic anxiety or something that might be a mental health condition. Can you clarify some of that for people who might wonder what the difference is?
Well, you're absolutely right. We all have anxiety every day, and anxiety can be a good thing because it motivates us to make changes and to be successful and to keep trying to move forward. But if it's crippling us, and that would be a different type of anxiety if a child absolutely, starts refusing to go to school. I've had kids before, younger kids especially, that don't want to get out of the car or having a lot of anxiety due to other situations, other extenuating circumstances. But it's very normal for all of us to be a little bit more anxious, a little bit more apprehensive when there's something new coming up and we're not sure exactly how to have that response. I think if parents have seen some signs of anxiety in their children in the past, or they already know that their children can be hyper anxious about certain situations, it's important to maybe take some certain extra steps. But most kids, it's a pretty average, normal thing that they're going to get past, and they may not feel they can, but it's what we all encounter when there's a change.
Mm-hmm. You talked about some of the interpersonal, social, emotional intelligence issues that come up between classmates and maybe sometimes feeling maybe overwhelmed by the workload. How can we talk to them about that? Not that we want to bring it up necessarily if there's nothing there, but if there's concerns there and issues coming up, how do you help them deal with, peers who may not want to be friends or some difficult situations happening in the classroom or the playground?
Well, teaching them early how to interact when a friend reacts in a way that is negative. Sometimes drama can start when there's a reaction that isn't positive, and then a child that is offended or hurt or upset and kind of feeds that. So I was actually having this conversation yesterday with a middle schooler, and she was talking about, she's very, very self-aware, and she was talking about how there's a center of drama that she knows certain kids that cause it, and then there's kind of the outlying circle. And it's not to label any of the kids, but if she's aware that there are certain kids that maybe spread a lot of rumors or kind of try to get into some trouble, not being unkind to them, not being rude, being friendly, but maybe refraining from telling them too much information about themselves, trying to stay on that outer circle and not getting too involved in any drama or things that go on. And that happens, and that takes time. But a lot of kids already know sometimes who those kids are that may trigger some of their own issues with behavior or problems with peers. So having conversations is so important, because kids are smart. They can sense when there's a situation that maybe isn't so good, but we also sometimes are drawn to drama, or drawn to situations that cause stress. So teaching them how important that is to be proactive and how they react in these situations.
And before we go, Shantala, do you help people who maybe are hearing that it is their child maybe with the behavioral problems?
Yes, I definitely work with kids and parents. A lot of times it's some behavioral modification or working with the teachers and trying to figure out what some of those triggers are so that they can have a successful school year. There's so many things that come into place, and every child is unique and different. So oftentimes it's helpful to have a counselor, an outside person, kind of support in that situation.
And what about when it comes to maybe concerns about attention deficit or things like that that may come into play? Do you help explore how to get around that or identify that?
Absolutely. And a lot of times with attention deficit, there's some anxiety, because a lot of times kids that have attention deficit, their minds are always on the go. They're always working. And sometimes it's hard for them to focus because they think so much, but it's also difficult because their thinking causes anxiety. So we definitely talk about that. And sometimes these things aren't even identified until you come into a session and start exploring different options, family history. So it's always helpful. There's also counselors on staff within schools. There's licensed therapists that can support. So it's always helpful to get a third-party advice.
All right. Well, Shantala, it's good to have you with us again from Boss Wellness, and hope everyone has a great start to the school year. Thanks for giving us some tips to get started off right.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Also this morning, I want to talk to you about some of the things happening with Epic Universe. We got some new details about that this morning, and it is a big Harry Potter theme inside of Epic Universe. We're learning that they will have a set in the 1920s Wizarding Paris, featured in Fantastic Beasts movies, and the 1990s British Ministry of Magic from the Harry Potter films. And Universal says there will be several different experiences and dining options, as well as Harry Potter and the Battle of Ministry ride. Epic Universe set to open in 2025. Is that all the time we have, Kathleen? That's all the time we have, but we'll take you to Kroger and get those grocery deliveries hopefully tomorrow. And I'll turn it over now to Weather-Wise, and I'll see you at noon.